Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. Now, one of the biggest asks that I've had of EA College Football that's coming out in 2024 is, I want studio updates. Remember the ones we had in NFL 2K5? Maybe you're too young to remember those, but we had them, and they were awesome. Now, those of you that watch the Rapid City Dynasty have seen the ones I create and know what they look like if I were to do them in post. But could EA do them in their own way? Yes, they could. Now, back in NFL 2K5, Chris Berman would interrupt with a game highlight and score update, and my god, it was so cool and added so much immersion to your experience. Imagine this with an online dynasty. What if your friends finished their games first, and an in-game update happened during your game with a highlight from it? How freaking cool would that be? Now, in order to do that, I'm sure they'd have to store clips or pull from clips on a server or something. Well beyond my pay grade to get into the technical aspects of that, but I'd take it if it were just CPU games like NFL 2K5 did. There is no reason that something that existed damn near 20 years ago can't exist today. Now think about this. How often do you skip the halftime show in Madden? You maybe watch it the first time, and then you skip it every time after that. Am I right? Put a few highlights and score updates in there from other games going on around the league, and I guarantee you get more people sticking through your halftime show, becoming more immersed in their games and dynasties because of this. It adds a level of replayability that's not there right now, and it hasn't been for a very long time. And here's an example of one I created. Granted, these are in post, but I created this one for our Rapid City Dynasty that's going on right now. Roll it.
A lot of push-ups, man. Good luck. Emmy, you've got to have more interesting scores than what we got here.
I think I do. How about this one? Number 9 Utah loses to 1-9 Arizona State, crushing their CFP hopes. Trainum had 188 yards on the ground in the upset. Elsewhere, Clemson held on to beat NC State, and right now, Northern Illinois is in a fight with the Red Hawks, all tied up in the second. For what it's worth, Ohio State pulled it out over Indiana, 42-28. Checking back in at Autzen Stadium, and not much changed as the Ducks shut down the Huskies to win it 16-0. Justin Flo had a great game there with 2 sacks and a forced fumble as they suffocated that Husky offense. And hey, we didn't forget about the Spartans and Nittany Lions. The Spartans pulled away in this one after Beck hit Foster yet again for 6 and Penn State falls 26-10. A huge letdown after the big win last week versus the Buckeyes. Foster finished this game with 8 catches for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Spartans. That'll do it from the studio, but hey, why is Jimmy not using an umbrella?
Jimmy likes the hot dog soggy.
Oh.
Yeah, don't ask.
Now, mine are very specific and done in post. There's no way I'd expect EA to do something to that detail. Now, I'd assume they'd code it so that it would pull certain statistics and information and pull out voice lines and motion capture that would align with that. And that's a lot to ask to get very detailed with. But NFL 2K5 level? Why not? How many of you would like that in the next game? I guarantee there's nobody that would not like that. And in fact, if you would, sound off in the comments, because I think EA is looking at some of these wish list videos around EA College Football. Granted, it's late in the cycle now for them developing, but for their next game or in the backlog in the future, they need to know that we want this. Now, before you say it, I know there are a lot of you out there that are very pessimistic when it comes to EA, and I don't blame you. That's unfortunately just the way it's kind of been the last a lot of years. But I choose to be optimistic here. I choose to have some hope in regards to college football because I have to. You know what they say, you don't laugh, you'll cry. And who wants to live in a puddle of hate? It's just not fun. I'd rather give some constructive criticism and hope for the best. Now, I also want to touch on how I actually do my studio updates. I know a lot of you are probably curious, so I'm going to give you the steps as to how I do it. Now, I'm not going to get very in-depth here, but I'm going to lay it out, the steps I take to do this. Step 1, I record the game. Step 2, I gotta record multiple CPU versus CPU games to get those in-game highlights. Step 3, I'll write the script for the voice actress or myself, depending on who's doing the studio update that week. Step 4, once I get that script, that voice work back, I motion capture all of it. So that means facial, that means body. It's getting the lips to match as best as I can. So it's me saying her lines, having it play on a screen, and me saying it with the motion capture over and over until I feel like it lines up perfectly. Step 5, I send that motion capture data to Unreal Engine 5. Now here's where I do some light cleanup on the animation, adjust the lights to match the time of the day, that the game is taking place, and then render out the frames. Step 6, I take those CPU games, edit them down to the biggest plays to match what I wrote in the script for the voice actress, or me. Now I take that and I edit it into the main game. This includes art assets and things that I've created as well for it. And that's it. It's a little behind the curtain. Granted, it's not very in-depth there. There's a lot of little things and details that have to be handled in those steps, but the basic overview, that's how it's done. And yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's fun. And it brings a level of immersion and detail to the Dynasty that I don't think exists right now in any packaged football game. Unless you want to play NFL 2K5, and I won't blame you because that game is still awesome. So like I said, sound off in the comments. Let EA know you want studio updates in college football or even Madden. And hey, if you're not watching the Rapid City Dynasty, check it out. It's a lot of fun. We have fun there. There's a new team coming next season. It's a good time. If not, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Go Bucks and go Stegos.